I hope I got this right. Hello, everyone. This is Michael Holder. I'm at Ragsdale High School. This is my presentation on implementing 21st century skills in the classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. I found, looking into 21st century skills, why they're drastically important. So I think a lot of us know the answer to some of these skills and know what we want to teach. We just don't know how to identify them as 21st century skills. But we recognize inside the classroom the issues that our students have and the issues that they're going to have as they venture out into the current workforce and the current work world, and identifying the skills that they don't have, and then identifying how we are going to present them and teach them in the classroom, or at least expose them to the skills in the classroom, is very important. So it starts out, when I was looking through the online index, I found this story that Time Magazine did. It said whether an entire generation of kids will fail to make the grade in the global economy because they can't think their way through abstract problems, work in teams, distinguish good information from bad, or speak a language other than their own. So that story in 2006 was wondering if we have now gotten to the point where jobs in the market have gone beyond what we can teach in the classroom, which I don't believe they have, but the old way of teaching is not giving the children the skills that they need, because jobs have become so advanced that as students get out, whether they go to college or not, they have to be able to problem solve and critically think. So our new challenge, this came from Did You Know? It says, we are currently preparing students for jobs and technologies that don't exist. I think this is a really, really crucial sentence. The technology is advancing at such an exponential rate that we now have to prepare students for jobs that they don't even know they're going to have in the future. They don't even know is going to exist. So how do we give them skills? Well, it basically says that we need to give them skills that prepare them to be able to be cross-functional and handle multiple different things and critically think. And if you can critically think and problem solve, you can do most jobs. You just have to have the technical skills that come after that. So a few pictures. This shows, the wide variety of classes that we offer in CTE. We offer classes from anything from healthcare to building in a shop to technology, engineering and design, to such a wide computers, such a wide range of classes that we have to be able to determine the certain skills that they need to have, the leadership, the teamwork, those kind of skills that they need to have that can cover all of these classes. We have to be very broad with what the skills are that also can drill down in a detail to what can give them skills that they need that will let them legitimately be able to float from possibility of going from one career to another and still have the appropriate skills that will make them successful in both of those jobs. They just need to then have the technical learning to make them, give them the ability to be able to do those jobs. So this is kind of my personal definition of what CTE is, but I think it hits the nail on the head. I think CTE's job is to give exposure to different careers and prepare students for the working world, right? To provide the necessary skills to thrive in a competitive market and produce career-ready students in the 21st century. Again, the content is phenomenal for students to have, but if you don't have the skills with being able to work with people or present or do the other things, it doesn't really matter what the skills are. You can't function with other people. You can't collaborate with people. So what's the point of having these wonderful skills if you can't operate in a team environment? What are 21st century skills? This came from the, I'll never be able to pronounce that, but Kamahama school report. 21st century skills are content, knowledge, literacies, and proficiencies that prepare individuals to meet the challenges and opportunities of today's world, right? So the ability to function in a 21st century world. There's three different types. So you've got learning skills, which is communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity, you can see that these are really kind of the basic skills that you need to be able to have to operate in a work environment. You've got literacy skills, right? Information literacy, right? Understanding facts and figures. Media literacy, understanding the methods and outlets which information is published. And then you've got technological literacy, right? Understanding technology of today. Again, in construction, if you, from where I came from, if you understand how to build a wall, that's fantastic. But if you don't understand the technology that people use today to build a wall, then you're kind of lost, right? You need to understand what they're doing and the method that they're doing to be able to converse with them in that way. And that goes to computer technology and medical technology and things like that as well. And then you have life and career skills. These are just the basic skills of being able to function in a world, right? Flexibility and adaptability. Those are things that I find myself struggling with, flexibility and adaptability, because I like things a certain way, but you have to be able to adapt and rework things, right? Initiative and self-direction, right? Some things are you're born with, right? I don't know if we can really teach these two things, but they're important 21st century skills. Taking initiative, we can certainly encourage that. And then self-direction, sometimes you just need to have that moment in life where you get self-direction. I had to have the same thing. I don't know if you can necessarily teach that, but we can urge them and push them in a certain direction. Productivity and accountability, making sure that we're accountable for what we do and understanding that what we do affects other people. In technology, engineering, design, we talk about impacts, how everything impacts something else, right? That's a big thing. My kids this week just got productivity and accountability lessons to understand what they do determines what other people do, or it impacts their lives. Social skills and cross-cultural skills. We have to be able to, in this century, and I don't know why this is still a problem, we have to be able to deal with people who don't think the same way we do. It's actually a great thing to have people from different perspectives coming in, because you get different ideas. We still have issues with social interactions all the time, but also being able to handle talking to somebody who doesn't have the same language as you. It's very important to be able to handle, especially in the construction industry I used to be in, to be able to handle people with different languages and different cultural beliefs. And then leadership and responsibility. Who's going to be the person that goes to the forefront and can lead somebody into the fire, right? The most important thing is always having one person, at least one person, that is willing to take charge of a group of people and lead them in the fire, but not only lead them, but to lead them responsibly and lead people without screaming and hollering at them and telling them what they should do, rather than inspiring. We need to inspire people to do things. So how do we implement 21st century skills into the classroom? That's the toughest thing, right? Because now we're trying to take the 21st century skills and put them into knowledge-based learning. We're trying to teach them a whole bunch of things, but we're also trying to teach them 21st century concepts. There's several different ways, right? So you need to understand the phases of the 21st century learning movement, right? We need to understand the skills and competencies that we need to instill. So we're going to go over that in a little bit. We need to condense the skills into manageable groups, because as we're going to see from one of the places that I got information, it's a lot of different skills. We need to be able to condense them into groups that we can handle, and then see if we can put skills together that they can kind of get two skills at once sometimes. Empowering students to actually do the skills. That's the big thing in the classroom that I'm learning as a new teacher, and that a lot of new teachers are learning, is that we have to start empowering our students to take charge of some of the responsibility. That's accountability at the beginning of everything, is making them take accountability for their learning rather than us be responsible for their learning, right? We give them the information, but they're in the driver's seat. They need to take responsibility and take charge and be active in their learning. So I got this quote from Ken Kayes, the CEO of Ed Leader 21. It says, "It's hard to measure, but leaders at the forefront of the 21st century learning movement tell me they still see too many students sitting passively while teachers deliver instructions." Too much technology is still used to replace routine tasks rather than turbocharge the experience of learning. So we've taken classes. I took a technology class at App State that's showing you how to use technology to aid your classroom. But again, we can't allow some of these things to let students just sit and click buttons. We have to make sure that students take charge and take an active role in their learning, because sometimes too much technology is too much, and that's coming from a technology teacher. So what can teachers do? They can make a learner-centered classroom, right? We can allow students to become the kind of in charge of what they're learning. You can make students produce products, right? And so instead of just paper or listening to you and regurgitating what you say, produce a product, right? Produce something that can be judged and critiqued. Learn new technologies, right? Obviously we can learn new technologies. That goes with all of the different things that we use in our classroom. If you're in the medical field, they can learn medical technologies. If they're in my field, they can learn things that they don't even know yet. Go global. This one was interesting. There was a thing that showed me that you should be able to try, and I don't know how this works, but interact with other classrooms, or find a way to interact with other classrooms in other countries, and let them get the perspective from our country and let us get the perspective from their country. Use smartphones. I am a proponent, and I know this is a big one in school, and I have the ability to do it because I'm a technology teacher, but I think that everybody should understand that the easiest way to get students to get off of their smartphones is to allow them to use their smartphone, so it doesn't become such a big thing and it doesn't become such a big challenge that they're trying to beat you on. Let them use their smartphones in class. Let them use the things that they like to get answers, right? And then let them be able to discern. We talked about a while ago, a few slides ago, about being able to understand media literacy. Well, if they understand, if you give them the idea of getting information from the internet and then they feed it back to you, and you can make them understand why that may be credible or not credible, you're giving them media literacy. So let them use their smartphones and their computers if you have them in class. Blog, I'm not going to ever be a blogger, but use the blog. Allow people to interact online and see different things online in a blog atmosphere. Go digital. Right? So use a lot of digital interfaces. So students who you wouldn't really realize in classrooms how many students are not digitally competent. I'm very shocked that there are kids, they know how to use technology and they know how to use computers, but they don't necessarily know how to use the Google Suites, and they don't necessarily know how to do things on Word and PowerPoint and things that you would think that they would, they just don't. Collaboration, allow them to work together. I like to do collaboration where I give them all roles. This person's in charge of this person's in charge of this, and then maybe the next day, if we're still doing that same lab, the roles rotate so a new person can handle a different role. Use Twitter chats. I don't use Twitter. I put that on here for other people who do use Twitter. I've never been a big Twitter person, but social media is obviously a big part of their lives. So using Twitter chats and allowing students to operate in that way. I do know that businesses are big in social media and using Twitter and social media for getting things out. So that's a very important thing. I don't, so that's something that I need to work on and get involved. Connect with students. In general, connect with students, and that means connecting with them in a digital atmosphere, right? My students love it when I connect with them on digital media. They think it's the coolest thing that they can talk to a teacher the way that they find easier, right? Or more comfortable with. Project-based learning, we love doing stuff in class where they can build things. Let students, again, this kind of goes with producing things, let them produce something. Build positive digital footprints. Online, students become so used to being online and it's all about them. We need to make sure that they understand that their digital footprint online also gets out to other businesses, and it also gets out to other people. And we just did ethics in class. How do you want people to perceive you, and how do you want to teach people? Well, if you have a negative digital footprint, that's not going to help you in the future Coding, we don't do coding in this class, but it's obviously important. Innovating, taking things that other people have already created and turning it into something that is a good product for you. And then the most important thing, I put this last because to me, it's last on the list, but it's really the first thing, and it's the last thing, and it's the middle thing, and it's the halfway thing, and it's the quarter thing, and it's the three-quarter thing. Keep learning. There is no such thing as perfection. You have to continuously strive. It's the most important term in my class is optimize. Keep optimizing your life and your learning ability. You don't settle for enough. You just continue to learn, understanding that there is no such thing as perfect. There's nobody in the world that's perfect. There's nobody in the world that knows everything. But if you continuously improve and continuously learn, you will always add to your skill set or your toolbox. So what does a 21st century classroom look like, right? Integrating technology, right? Collaborative environment, meaning allowing students to work together and work with you in collaboration instead of me being in charge, right? I am now facilitating what they're doing. I am not the person who's in charge of them. I let them make mistakes because it's very important to make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. I think I had to learn early on that it's very important to not correct somebody, let them make the mistake so they can have that, the synapses fire in their brain and understand why they made the mistake. I used to like to correct them, and then they never tremendously learned the problem with what they did. Give them opportunities for creative expression, obviously assignments and things like that they can do where they can be creative and create things. Inquiry-based approach, so an approach that asks a question that they have to answer, or they have to devise a solution to make the answer. And then justify. Now you've given me an answer. I need you to tell me why it exists. Why does your answer correct? Can you give me a reason? And just because is not the right answer, right? It's not, we don't live in a caveman society. Our answer is not bird, tree. Our answer is, this is what's happened. Here's why it happened. And here's my way of making sure that it continues to happen, right? Continual progression. Here's how I can assure you that the quality assurance, quality control, here's how I can assure you that this process is going to continue to work, or this answer is going to continue to be the right answer. And then reflect. Once we've done things, what did I do? What can I improve on? What can I not improve on? What did I do well? What did I not do well? Reflecting on the task that they've just done is very important. It allows them to look back and see if there's improvements that can be made. Use of problem-solving methodology. Obviously, critical thinking skills and solving an issue is very important. Hands-on learning. This kind of relates back to doing projects and things like that. And then we are facilitators. We are not the answer. We are facilitators. We facilitate their way to the end. A good example of this, and some of these things I got to see that I do some of them in class, some of them I don't do really well. Teachers as facilitators, I have tests where I give my students a certain test, and I allow any student in my classroom to ask a question out loud. Everybody can hear it, right? In the middle of the test, Coach, I don't understand this question. And I'll say, okay, well, explain to me what you don't understand. And they'll read the question out to me, and then I facilitate them to the answer. I don't give them the answer. Now, everybody in the class hears me facilitate the student to the answer, so they kind of get to hear the same thought process of how we came to the answer, and they get to hear what's happened. We don't get to do that for all 38 questions on the test, but I do allow certain students, when they're sticking on questions, we facilitate them towards the answer so they can understand how to process an answer and how to process why it's the right answer. So I like to facilitate. I don't want to give them anything. And then transparent assessments. I don't believe in the entire history of school, and I was the person that, trust me, you probably didn't like when he was in school because he didn't do a lot of work and he didn't like taking tests. But the reason I didn't like taking tests is because I believe that tests in traditional school environment are made to try to get kids to have the wrong answer in a lot of ways. And that's not our goal. Our goal is to not try to trick you. Our goal is to try to see if you understand the content that I have provided. So when we give tests, transparent, this is what I want you to know. Here's a test that we're going to give you, and you don't get fooled into not knowing answers to questions because I am giving you answers that you just don't know the answer to. Or I tricked you into picking this, haha, I'm the best in the world. I tricked you into getting the wrong answer. That's not the way testing should ever be. That's not how it's going to be in the business world, right? Nobody in the business world asks you for a figure on a wall that they put up and then says, oh, by the way, which figure is not the correct answer? That's baloney, right? So I believe that we should be transparent in our assessment. Now, giving not questions that ask which is not the correct answer also allows kids to critically think, but you have to be very careful that we're not trying to be trying to use trickery to get kids to get the wrong answer. That's my opinion on transparent assessment. So that doesn't necessarily mean that's everybody's opinion. That's my opinion. So my assessment of what we need to do, we need students to start giving us the answers, right? Us the answers instead of us giving them the answers all the time, which means that they need to do things to find the work and do the research where they can provide us with the answer. I think this assignment especially is kind of cool because we have gotten a little bit of background on 21st century skills, but at the same point in time, I looked this stuff up and I found some of the research, and then now I'm providing it to the professor, really. So I had to go find my own answer, right? I think that's kind of the point of the assignment, if I had to guess. We need students to shoulder their part of the learning load. I think for too long, teachers have shouldered the learning load. We have had to kind of force feed students answers where they need to start having some self-discovery in the learning. And then we need students to start operating as an employee. I think this is really tremendously important. Students shouldn't come into school being students necessarily anymore because they're going to go work in a world that doesn't treat them like students. They're going to treat them like employees. So if we hold them accountable for things and treat them like employees who have a stake in their learning environment or have a stake in the fact that they're successful, right? We transfer the responsibility of what's happening to them. Is that easy? No. Is it supposed to be easy? No, they're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. Some of you are having 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds, right? But it's our job to allow them to start taking the reins earlier. So when they don't go to college, which is a very good possibility, when they don't go to college and they do get into a career world, they're career ready rather than moving into a world that's post-high school where they're not career ready. They're still thinking that things are going to be spoon-fed to them, and it's not. So thank you for listening. I might have been long-winded here, and I might have injected a lot of my opinions into some of the stuff, but I find that students in today's world or workers in today's world come out with that same concept of, well, it's going to be given to me. I'm just going to do it. Whereas they need to come out more as, I am ready to work. I'm ready to understand, and I am responsible for my own future, right? So thank you again. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day.